Hey everyone, Michelle Zenisek here. We're going to talk about something that's very common for people to their argument against how could there be a God, um, and that is why does God allow bad things to happen? Um, the this is like I said, it's a common question that people ask. If there is a God, then why does He allow these bad things to happen? Well, I mean, the first thing I will say is that God is not the author of evil or bad. Um, so he doesn't create that, right? But he does allow it for, to serve a greater purpose. Um, the reality is we're not going to know a lot of the reasons why a lot of bad things have had to happen are not things that we're going to know this side of heaven. It'll once we make it to heaven, everything's going to make sense there. But here we don't know. And we know in Romans 8:28 it says God uses all things for the good of those who love him and are called according to his purpose. And notice how it says all things. It doesn't say all good things or all bad things, okay? It says all things. So there's a mixture of good and bad that happen to people, and whether you're a Christian or not, okay? Some things are probably meant to, if you're not a Christian, to bring you to God, okay? It doesn't mean that it'll always work. But ultimately, like I said, we're not going to know that answer here. Sometimes we will. Sometimes we will. Um, you know, if you ask God, if something bad has happened to you and you ask God why, he might show you. He might not, but he might show you why. And, you just have to be open to that. But it's, when you think of bad things that happen, I mean, I think of, I have a cousin whose 17-year-old daughter was killed in a car accident back in 2007. She was 3 weeks away from turning 18. She was a senior in high school. She already had a college picked out. This is it was a horrible thing, that to happen to anybody. And, you know, do I wish she was still here? Of course I do. But God knew from the moment he created her what day she was going to leave this earth. And he knew what the circumstances were going to be. He could have prevented that. If she died in a car accident, he could have prevented that car accident. And sometimes we do it to ourselves, because I'll also say, I mean, she was a 17-year-old girl. The weather was not good. She was in a hurry to get to school. For the conditions she was driving in, she shouldn't have been driving the way she was. And so the accident was her fault legally. Does that mean she deserved to die? No, it doesn't. We all make mistakes. We've all been teenagers and been teenage drivers, right? Why some of us have survived past our teenage years and others have not. There is no rhyme or reason to it. There was, over 25 years ago now, I have a friend who passed away of breast cancer. She was only 28 years old. And most people would say, oh, you don't even get breast cancer at that age. Well, that's not true. You can. You're more likely to get it when you're older. Okay. But why it happened to her, I don't know. And I know how hard she fought to live. She wanted to live. And she had a very aggressive, deadly form of breast cancer. And she died within 2 years of her diagnosis. And then I would look at people in my life who had like substance abuse issues or excuse me, alcohol abuse issues. And I'd say to myself, why does that person get to live? And this was before I was a Christian. Okay. And why does she not? She, even if it meant living in a cardboard box under a bridge, she just wanted to live. And then you have other people who abuse their bodies and abuse themselves and don't appreciate the life they have, right? It doesn't make sense, and it's not going to make sense here. Okay? It's not. And that's just something we have to accept, is that some things we're going to know why it happens, and some things we're not going to know why it happens. But one day when we make it to heaven, it will, and it'll make sense. We'll know why. But we have to trust that God is, his infinite ways we can't possibly grasp. So I hope this has been helpful today. Feel free to leave a comment with any feedback or thoughts you have. It's like I said, we're going to have trials and tribulations. The Bible says that too. Jesus said it. You will have trials and tribulations, but take heart. I have overcome the world. That is what Jesus said. So, again, I hope this has been helpful. Feel free to leave a comment with any feedback, and we'll talk again soon.